Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So some regular viewers got a little bit upset and sent me a couple messages because recently I have uploaded 2 Ethiopian Opal cutting videos, and I don't mind that people really bat hard for the Australian Opal, but I do want to just address my view on Ethiopian Opal just so that it's nice and clear. So straight up, I'm just going to say I like that they exist. I think they have a reasonable place in the market for Opal. And in this video, I'll just explain the pros, and I will still highlight the cons. And you can make your own judgments based on value, but I'm just going to do it from my point of view. And if I were to say make a tier list, I would probably put Ethiopian Opal in probably around the A or B tier. Maybe give it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. So I'm not saying that they're the best thing in the world. I certainly don't work it very much, and because that's not one of my favorite opals to work, I am through and through a diehard Boulder Opal fan. But I think based on value, they've actually got a reasonable place in this market. So by value, I'm just saying one of the key characteristics of Opal that we're all hunting for is that play of color, that vibrancy, and I'm just comparing that to the cost of the actual material. I'll try to talk mostly in cost per carat, but I might accidentally mix it up with some grams and kilograms and all that kind of stuff, but I'll try my best. So with Ethiopian Opal, the level of color, as in the brightness, the quality of it, the lack of inclusions, for the price, it is absolutely crazy, even now. I'm very seriously considering buying it in bulk from Ethiopia and then just selling like 1 or 2 stone kind of parcels. Well, it's not a parcel, just single stones to beginners, just so that they can experience some decent sifted through Ethiopian Opal. Because the price per carat I'm looking at in bulk, even at 20 cents per carat, you can still get decent stuff for a beginner to play with. Once you start climbing to the dollar per carat, you're actually getting into some really good material. And even when we're talking top gem grade stuff, it's only a couple dollars per carat. We're not looking at 100, 1,000. Like those kind of values are restricted to the higher end Aussie Opal. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. There is a reason for it. If you hand me a piece of Wello Opal, Ethiopian Wello Opal, and it looks very similar to the Kubapedi, just because of the properties of the Wello Opal, it is going to be worth less. Just because its versatility and strength is diminished greatly. But we'll get into more cons in a bit. I just want to say the positives for it is just that value. The color brightness to cost ratio is super good. There's heaps of weird different patterns, and the stones you can actually get really large chunks. And you don't actually lose much of that material, even if you're cabbing it up. A lot of the time you can pick off all of that external crust and see exactly what's underneath it, and even some sellers will do that for you. And you can very easily gauge how much you're going to end up with, especially if there's no cracks. Now, there are significant issues with Ethiopian Opal, and the first one is saying Ethiopian Opal. There are varieties in Ethiopian Opal that make a huge difference. I'm not talking about like the difference between Kubapedi and Lightning Ridge. I'm talking about the difference between silica gel and opal. It's such a huge difference between the hydrophane, non-hydrophane, the different fields within Ethiopia. It's hugely different. The physical properties of the opal are so incredibly different that unless you know what you're getting, you may end up with the thing that you really don't want. So I always advise beginners to start off with buying anything that's dry, that's called Wello Opal. Currently they're calling a lot of non-hydrophane opal crystal opal, so don't just buy it because it says crystal opal thinking that it's the same definition as Australian crystal opal. I don't like the naming convention that they've chosen for some of that, but a lot of the miners use it now and they've been told to kind of standardize that, which I don't really agree with, but if that's what they're going to do, we just have to be aware of it. You want to stick to the hydrophane Wello Opal, the kind of stuff that I cut, and it's almost always fine as long as you treat it correctly, which is what I'm trying to show off in my videos. Now, even when you pick the correct Wello Ethiopian Opal, there are issues that always draw it back, and that is that hydrophane nature. So a lot of the time, if you're cutting with water, you'll see it completely change color. It'll go translucent, really crystal. You'll lose that color, but it'll come back when you dry it. The problem with that is that you can get other things in there, not just water. So if you've got a lot of hand creams, a lot of chemicals, all that kind of stuff, and you're wearing it as a ring, you can completely destroy the stone and change how it looks. Might go cloudy, might go white. A lot of bad things can happen. That is a major drawback that you just have to be aware of. Now, even the stability of the opal is not that great. It's nowhere near as bad as what people say, As long as you cut it correctly, dry it correctly, store it correctly, don't get it in contact with things it shouldn't be, it is actually fairly stable, can be used in jewelry. Again, it is not as robust. It's lacking a bit of resilience in terms of its physical properties. Now, a couple points that don't get talked about as much, but I think are still fairly important, is the ethics behind it. So the ethical mining of it is one thing that someone brought up, which is fair. I don't really think about it too much at all, but there have been cases where people have shown that it's not overly ethical. We're talking things like slave labor to be able to dig it out of the ground, and then the people that are collecting all of that material are selling it off and just giving them pennies on the dollar. Not ideal. It's kind of like the blood diamonds kind of thing. The other thing is on the seller side with the disclosure that it is actually Ethiopian opal. The number of times I'm still seeing people sell at Australian opal price thinking that they're doing the right thing. It's an Australian opal, Cuba Pedy, whatever, but it turns out that it's Ethiopian opal is still way too high. And I think if people accept Ethiopian opal more, that will happen less. If people are comfortable to say this is Ethiopian opal and comfortable to sell it at the price of Ethiopian opal, we shouldn't have so many issues with people getting essentially scammed. They're buying something and they're not getting what they thought they were getting. And that's less to do with the material and more to do with the human side of things, the human greed and just general our ability to be just terrible people and scam people out of money. Unfortunately, that's always going to be a thing, and I see those as the huge major drawbacks. But I just want to restate that I think if you looked at the best Ethiopian Wello material at that kind of price point, it will beat all of the low grade Australian material that is out there, because we're talking dollars per carat. Where Australian opal really separates itself though is those $100 a carat, $1,000 a carat, even beyond that. At that point, I don't think the Ethiopian opal is ever going to be able to reach and compete at those kind of levels. So we're talking about like the gem grade Aussie material. It's just not going to get there. The pattern doesn't even really matter. Just those top quality opals, plus all of those fossilized opals, things like the Whitecliff's pineapples, it's just not going to compete. So I hope I've made it really clear on why I deal with Ethiopian opal every now and then. And you can be certain that it's not going to become an Ethiopian opal channel. I am seriously thinking of trying to find a bulk supplier of it to be able to sell people and get them to have a good experience with some Ethiopian opal, where they can be confident that they're buying a stone and they'll actually get something out of it. But I'm also thinking of doing the same thing for Aussie opal, and in fact I'm already in talks with at least 3 different materials that I might be able to start selling on the website. I'll just buy it in huge bulk. Same with this Ethiopian. If I can get it in huge bulk and then just sell it to you guys basically at cost, maybe a few percentage points above cost, then I'm really seriously considering doing it with a lot of different materials, because I just want to get it out there and I don't want to tank the market. I don't think I'm big enough to be able to do something like that, but I do want to give people a nice budget entry to just play around with some opal without getting ripped off, because there are so many people out there that are just still trying to rip people off. There's also so many people that are not doing that, but I think just because of the number of people that are following now, I think I've got a pretty good spot to be able to offer that lower end beginner experience and ease into it a little bit without risking too much capital. So hopefully that clears it up. I'm not upset at the people. I responded to them all when they sent me the emails, and I mostly agreed with them. 99% of it I agreed with them. I just want to argue a little bit that I think Ethiopian opal does have a place in the market. It's the same with the composite opals, doublets, triplets. I think they do deserve to exist. Synthetic is when I start struggling to really come to terms with it. That may be the only type of opal that I'm not overly fond of, just from the looks of it and the market surrounding it. I think it detracts a little bit from the natural opal market, but that's just me. And I would much prefer something like Ethiopian opal displacing all of that synthetic opal jewelry that I see. Feel free to comment below and agree, disagree, raise some other points that I didn't. I just wanted to make it clear what I thought. And I think the majority of people would agree, but there will be people that are super Aussie opal, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you really want to back your team and stick with it, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with Aussie opal, that's for sure. So I'm never going to disagree with someone saying Aussie opal is the best. I'm just saying that I think Ethiopian should exist and it's got a good spot in the market, and it might just introduce people to opal. It definitely helps carvers get into some cheap material that looks really nice at the end, even if they're not going to set it in jewelry because they don't know how, or they'll destroy the stones. Anyway, feel free to let me know what you think. I'm always welcoming comments. But now I better get back to the Australian opal that I am cutting currently. I can confirm that Ethiopian opal will not appear again for at least a couple of videos. So to those people, they might celebrate that. But no matter what I'm working, you'll see it on the channel very soon. So good luck, have fun, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.